to Logan, West Virginia. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Go right ahead.
Good morning. I'd just like to thank all the people in the Occupy movement. The commercial press fractured fringe movement of some sort because of their disparate grievances. But I believe they're only expressing what actually 100% of Americans know and feel, that our government is closed to the public, and there's been a corporate takeover of our government, and we want our government back.
Jane.
Well, the caller is right in that if public opinion polls that have been taken in the last couple of weeks indicate that not a majority, but about 40% of Americans agree with the message of Occupy Wall Street, that the haves have gotten too much, and the rest of America have been suffering and taking big hits. Only about 25% don't agree with them, and it has been called a fractured group. It's been called lots of different things. The Tea Party faced the same thing. They were called lots of things before, when they first started out, and what they turned out to be, in large measure, were ordinary Americans who were just really frustrated with Washington, D.C. And in the long run, it could be that Occupy Wall Street is coming from a different place, but is really just ordinary Americans, as the caller is, who are just very frustrated at how their government has not been able to help them in a time of such economic hardship.
Here's an email from Cynthia, who's listening on WNIJ in DeKalb, Illinois, and apparently we've had several like this. She says, if the top 1% have had such a large income increase in the last few years, where are all the jobs they have created? Right now, she says, I feel our country has been hijacked by political interests. Most American people are struggling to get by while the politicians continue their wrangling.
You know, productivity has gone up tremendously in the last couple of decades. So basically, businesses are getting more work out of workers. So they have to have less workers or pay them. Their labor costs aren't as high. We've had a lot of outsourcing, which we've talked about. We have a lot of people who make a lot of money here who park that money outside the U.S. In bank accounts that are undisclosed. I mean, there's a lot of ways for people who are making money to sort of take that money and either use it for their own benefit and not really invest back in America. There's no law that says they have to, and if they're not going to, then I think that's where you have a tax system come in to try to say, okay, we're going to try to keep that money to build America, which you have done very well by.
Byron.
Remember, this is a 30-year trend from these CBO numbers that we're talking about. That 30 years would include the Clinton boom years. I doubt that you had many shows devoted to this issue during the Clinton boom years, and yet those same things were going on just a few years ago under George Bush. The unemployment was, 4.5%, 5%, something like that. Not a huge amount. There are temporary conditions that exist now, and we all know what they are after the collapse.
They may not be temporary. That's the issue. I mean,
that's the concern.
You had this buildup of deregulation, and you had the expansion of the casino economy based on Wall Street that held the rest of the economy hostage, and it all kind of collapsed. It doesn't mean that this is not necessarily a boom and bust cycle. This may be a transition moment.
There are other statistics out there that show that in the recession, the wealthy did better, and while the 99% were suffering. And so this is not just a 30-year trend. This is about the last 2 or 3 years. And the public, if you do focus groups, if you go out and interview people, they're angry that the wealthy have gotten wealthier, that the banks, as we all know, are sitting on cash. And the answer that they hear is that these people need more money to create jobs. And that caller and those emails are raising, I think, what is going to be the next big question in this debate. Where are the jobs?